So, the Doom and Destruction pack got revealed recently, and it sucks. So this 2-pack comes with Prime Breakdown, and that's amazing. More Prime figures the better, but the problem is that it's a bulkhead retool. The thing is, I really like the bulkhead mold. I actually think it's great. I love how it feels, how it handles, how it transforms, but it just doesn't remotely fit the character of Breakdown. And what makes it even weirder is that Breakdown's bundled in with another retool of a figure that's not even from Prime. It's a character called Windsweeper, who I've never even heard of. The thing is, I completely understand why retools and redecos exist, because Hasbro need to make their money somehow. But they could have done so much better with Breakdown. I think they just could have used a different mold. But hey, sometimes retooling a previous figure into a Prime character works, like Knockouts. And I think this guy is great. He's actually a retool of 86 Jazz, but they changed so much about him that he feels more unique compared to the original mold. Considering he was one of the first Prime figures to get released with the Legacy line, he has much more of the G1 aesthetic than how they've done recently, but it still looks good. Like, it doesn't have the more angular and sleek design that Prime holds. It does trade that in for the more bulky aesthetic of G1 to fit in with the other generation figures, but that's fine. He is missing a couple of the design beats from Prime, the main example being the tires on the back. But with how this figure was designed, it was basically impossible to do that, because the tires make up the arm sockets, and the back itself is just the roof of the car, so there was no real way of getting it done. But if you're ever curious on what that design would look like, weirdly it exists in the Earth Wars mobile game. They just moved the tires on the model to the back, and it looks good, but it's a bit strange, because also now the arms are floating. Articulation wise, he's got basically everything you need. He is missing a wrist swivel because haha deluxe budget, but that's fine, it doesn't really get away in the posing. But for his accessories, he's got this piece of shit. It's meant to be his energy staff from the show, but it just doesn't handle well. I appreciate its inclusion, it's a really nice nod to the show, but I just feel like there's a lot to be desired with it, because you can't really give him the staff holding poses that you would want from it. But it can at least split into two, and it makes a blaster that's really ugly and not 5mm compatible, and this little like animated Bumblebee-esque shock stinger wrist mounted device. I don't really know how else to describe it, but I tend to display him with the two pieces separate because it just looks better, and the staff just feels like it gets in the way at times. It's just not really the best. But at least in terms of his scaling, he does very well. He looks really good next to soon-to-be Breakdown here, for better or for worse. In terms of other Prime figures, Skyquake and Dreadwing, they look great with him. They really tower over him. They feel great. Feels like a nice bit of scaling. But I've also got him next to RC and Strongarm. I don't really know how he should scale with Strongarm because he wasn't in Rid 2015. But with RC, I feel like he should be a bit taller, but that's just the Transformers bike curse. Looking at you, Prowl. But moving on to his transformation, it's really fun and it's easy to pick up. All the pieces just connect in nicely and they just make for a really nice looking car. I'm not overly worried about any sort of plastic break-in or any sort of QC issue when I'm transforming him. He just feels really well put together. But as for the vehicle mode, I love it so much. This is where you can really see that he's a retool of 86 Jazz, but also how different he looks. He looks nothing like Jazz, in my opinion. This feels like a completely different vehicle mode. The detailing for the vehicle mode is basically bang on. He's got all the details from the doors, he's got the yellow rims. This feels plucked straight from the show. It's basically perfect. And while it's basically perfect next to the Prime version of the car, weirdly enough, it is perfect compared to the car that we see in Rid 2015. And it's making me question if that was the source material they used base for the vehicle, because down to the colouring, it's all the same shade. The only vehicle mode I'm really going to compare this to is the bulkhead vehicle. Because it's becoming breakdown, and it's the only one I could really see myself displaying this guy with, it feels like the only one I need to really show. But for what it's worth, they look great together. I feel like breakdown should be a little taller than knockout, but it's fine. I did half consider showing him as well with RC, but I really hate transforming her, so it's only bulkhead. But overall, knockout's just great. I feel like I can't recommend him more to Prime fans and just Transformers fans in general. He looks great next to a Decepticon army. He's a perfect little foot soldier. But in my opinion, he's basically a must-have for anyone who wants more Decepticon figures. And luckily, I still find listings of him for like £20, and that's a steal for what you're getting. The only thing I will say to finish this off is I just wish Breakdown was good. Okay, bye!